Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for returning yet to another video here on the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. This, of course, is Midtown USA, and we're in episode number 19, and we're in a brand new game day from what we've been in the previous two episodes, and we are moving right along with our plans here. So just wanted to give you an update there. There's all the straw that we managed to get off of field number 16. And I believe that that's going to be sufficient for us for our needs. So we are not going to be baling any more straw for this particular game year here. So that is done. We've got all hands on deck this morning, including myself, will be working. We're just going to drive over to field number what field number is it? Field number 15, our barley field. We have started harvesting our barley this morning. I will stop here. I don't often stop at stop signs here in Farm Sim, but I'm going to do that now. So we have a crew here. We've got an extra hired worker today, since they're going to be doing this field all themselves, and we're basically running a combine, the auger wagon, and of course the semi truck and tipper pulling barley off the field. And as you can tell, they have been making some pretty good progress on this initiative. Let's see, where are the guys? Looks like they're going to be down here on the crest of this hill here. So there's where the guys are. They are hard at work, as you can tell as we kind of spin around here. The big field number, well, again, I don't know these things off the top of my head. Field number 17, this was our second wheat field, and got it all done, and boy, did it take some time. So it is available to start putting fertilizer on the ground, cultivating, etc., etc. And so that is what we are going to be doing today. I'm just going to drive across the field here. We normally don't do this, but hey ho, it gets us to where we need to go, and that's a rhyme, and I didn't even mean to do that. So hope everyone is having a really wonderful day. Let's see, today in the real world is the 17th of February, and of course the role that I'm going to be playing on this particular game day is going to be driving the big bud and the cultivator. So we're going to be cultivating in behind our let's see, fourth hired worker, and who is actually spreading a little bit of fertilizer. So hopefully he will continue to make good progress, and then we'll probably get him over on the big field in due time. But anyway, hope everyone is having a really wonderful day, evening or morning or whatever it is, that whenever it is that you're watching this. And again, I'm recording this episode on Saturday, the 17th of February, and boy do I feel good today. Lots of energy. It's a 3-day weekend for me. For those of us in the US, this is President's Day weekend, or Monday is the day in which we observe President's Day. And so let me just get my course here all configurated and everything for us here. So just bear with me just 1 second, and that way I can try to speak to you all with some level of intelligence. That's going to be a stretch, right? Okay, so we'll walk into that GPS track. We're going to lower our cultivator, and we are off cultivating in the fertilizer. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have been working this entire year for, and I know I probably said that in the previous episode, getting these 3 fields, at least well, at least one of them. I mean, we're just gonna kind of take it as we can go. The next step for this field, of course, will be seeding soybeans. So we're just going to take things as they go. Look at our weather forecast up there. We do have rain all the next 4 game days predicted there, Monday through Thursday. But of course, rain will not stop us from seeding, and so I will just hopefully keep our fingers crossed that the rain will at least be somewhat short-lived on some of those days, because we do need to continue our harvesting efforts, our canola fields, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just bring up the menu here. I believe that our canola fields are ready to harvest. Yes, they are. So 10 and 11 are ready to harvest. So I don't know if I'll get the team working on that immediately after we finish up the work that we need to do on these fields. Obviously, they can continue to harvest, and the folks that I have working, helping me fertilize and such, can do what we need to do. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. But in any event, we do have a lot to do. And well, we kind of have a short time to get it done because obviously we do have that rain in the forecast, and we just need to get the soybeans into the ground in the next game day or so. And let me just pause one more time here and let's bring up that menu so we're all looking here at the same sheet of music. We have about 2 more game days, or maybe 3 more game days that we need to get this done. Let's see, what game day is this? This is game day 5. So really we just have 1 more game day, it looks like. This game day 5, game day 6, to get the soybeans into the ground. And so I think that's doable because, again, we can seed when it's raining, as long as we don't have torrential downpours where our fields become more like a sponge. Then I think that we can get the equipment in here and not tear things up too much. So hopefully they will be somewhat short-lived. And as far as harvesting goes, we can obviously harvest around the rain and just kind of hopefully hope that we have some warm temperatures. And if you look at the forecast, yeah, we're flirting with the 90s there on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. Then things are going to kind of cool off again as we start approaching fall. And worst case scenario, we can always harvest if we need to into the fall as well. The main sense of urgency that I have felt over the last several weeks has really been in making sure that we can get these fields turned around the way that we need to get them turned around. So that we can get the soybeans in, because while this may not have been the right thing to do, it is such as life, and we have already committed to selling the soybeans that we have yet to put in the ground. And so it's been sort of top of mind for me to make sure that we get this done and get this done quickly, or as quickly as possible. Let me get my regular screenshot here. We'll zoom in here. Maybe we can get the guy that's racing us over there with the fertilizer, putting down the granular fertilizer today. Bring our HUDs back up here, and we don't need that weather forecast, so I don't want to stare at the well, I'll tell you what, let me get rid of those. I don't want to stare at that weather forecast. That's almost as nerve-wracking as that winter weather forecast was for me back on the Old Guy Farmer Challenge. If you guys were watching some of those live streams when I was playing that map, I had just a terrible winter. But anyway, I hope everyone is doing fine, and I hope you all had a wonderful Valentine's Day, and I hope that you're hoping that February is treating you well. You guys are going to be watching this episode. Let's see. You guys are going to watch this episode on the very last game day. Life is a game, right? The very last day of February. February the 28th is when this episode is scheduled to drop on YouTube. And so so hopefully February has been kind to you, and I hope that March will be equally as pleasing for you all as well. So a lot of stuff going on in my world, in my real world. Today, let's see. So let me back up about 12 hours or so, 15 hours. So I came home from work on Friday the 16th of February, and walked in the door, changed clothes, got out of my office work clothes, and put on my work clothes, and strapped on my knee pads and grabbed my hammer and my crowbar and my old chisel that I use to do things like chisel out concrete or stuff that I don't really care about. I don't use my good wood chisels for things like this, but I've got a couple of old chisels that kind of serve the purpose of doing things that, prying when I don't have anything handy to pry with or chip with or whatever. So anyway, grabbed all of that gear, went to my entrance hallway, which is our next project, our next tiling project that my wife has in her mind that she wants to do, and began chipping away the tile in this small area. Thankfully it is small, because let me tell you what a bear that was to get that tile off of the floor. It's about a 20 square foot area, so if you can sort of visualize in your mind's eye, 12 inch by 12 inch tiles laid about 5 by 4, so about 4 rows of 5 there will give you that area. And basically had to start, didn't have any sort of edge to sort of work with, so I basically just used one of my old chisels to kind of chisel out the grout between two of the tiles, where I could then get my small crowbar in there, and basically just kind of had to manhandle, rough out the very first tile. Once I was able to get my crowbar under there far enough where I could really get a good bite of it, then I was able to pry up on it, and of course it came off in many shards of ceramic tile, and so that stuff is sharp. And of course I'm wearing eye protection and all that stuff. I had the opportunity, and I've got to say that it's and I've often talked about this. I've often talked about my agricultural schooling, my training that I took in high school. We called it ag for short, but it basically encompassed, animals. It was part of the Future Farmers of America program, and so if you grew up in a rural area, you may be familiar with that. If you grew up in the city, well, I don't know if those types of things exist there, but we had all sorts of training on animal husbandry, of course, welding, woodworking, etc. And so the very cool thing is, and hopefully they're going to unload there correctly over there on the left-hand side of your screen. But anyway, I was trained the right way to do things, right way of how to do things, and so obviously safety is always top of mind for me. It's always something that I'm thinking about all of the time, anytime that I'm working with whatever I need to work with. And let me pause for a second, because it looks like he is not going to unload by himself, so I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So as I was saying, safety is always something that's always at the top of my mind, and it just has to be. Anytime you're working with power tools and whatnot. And I can see that I parked my truck right in the middle of the way there. So let me get out of here and go over here and move the pickup out of the way, because otherwise I'm going to embarrass myself as I basically drag that cultivator over the hood of my truck. And my steering is I did calibrate my steering just a little bit after the whole Tazewell Farm fiasco. Things were just not right, and I don't know what the deal was. I don't know why I had the problems that I had, but in any event, I recalibrated things, and I think that things are a little bit better. But anyway, safety is always top of mind, because anytime you're working around power tools, whether it be something as potentially dangerous as a table saw, a router, things of that nature, planers, things of that nature, you have to be focused. You have to, even like my wood lathe, for example, you take your mind off the task at hand and start thinking about something else, or start daydreaming or whatever. There's moving parts and shirt sleeves and all that kind of stuff, and so you just have to be aware and be aware of your surroundings and whatever. So anyway, back to the chipping of the tile story. So yeah, I was wearing safety glasses and gloves and all that kind of stuff, because literally this stuff, if you, especially if you're from the U.S., well, even in Europe, early civilizations used arrowheads and such for weapons, for arrows and whatnot. So I mean, that's not anything that's specific to the U.S. But if you are familiar with arrowheads, you know how sharp those things are. And so this ceramic tile stuff is very similar in nature when it comes off, and so it is very sharp. And of course, if you're chipping this stuff away, and as many of the tiles do come up in multiple pieces, there's not much that you can do about that, especially depending on how much thin set was used and how well the thin set was put down. So anyway, whoever laid this tile floor did a good job, certainly. And so it was very difficult to pull the pieces up. But anyway, that's what I did on Friday evening. Was I managed to get the old tiles up. This morning, I am going to revisit and kind of go in with a scraper and kind of scrape up some of the thin set that was still stuck to the wood, the plywood deck. That's what the flooring basically is in this particular area of the house, is just a plywood surface, subsurface, or whatever. And so then we're going to paint. The wife, and it's a smart idea to go ahead and paint when we don't have to worry about flooring and all that kind of stuff getting in the way and what have you. So we are going to paint this small area. Again, it's just kind of an entryway off of our front door, really, and it's really rarely used, because certainly our main use, our everyday use, is coming in through the garage, because that's just the way things are, I suppose. I almost never use my front door. The front door is for guests and such as that. So but paint this area, paint the walls in this area. So it's a very relatively small area. And is he still not unloading? Wow. Okay. Well, I'll have to tweak with that just a little bit. But anyway, paint this area, and then tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, or Sunday probably mid-morning or so, we will start tiling this area. So most likely I will be recording Thornton Farm episode number 28 next. That's on my agenda of things to do. Don't know if I'll do that today or do that tomorrow, but most likely it will be tomorrow, and I will at least update you on the painting process and getting the floor basically cleaned up, get the thin set and everything off. That kind of if you've ever pulled tile off of a floor before, you know that the thin set, the way that you lay the thin set down, or if you've ever tiled before, then you would know this. The way that you lay the thin set down is you lay it down, you smooth it out, and you sort of go over it with a what they call a notched trowel, and that has notches in it, which when you look at it, when I'm sort of spreading thin set, it's almost like looking at a freshly plowed field. It has your nice, even, neat rows and everything of the thin set, and obviously it is in rows so that it kind of helps to fill any voids in the floor and kind of keeps things somewhat level. So anyway, some of that remains, some of those little ridges that kind of looks like some little plowed fields there. That's all got to come up, and it's all got to be back to the wood deck, the wood plywood floor. So that is what is in order for this weekend. Of course, we'll get the tile laid, and then won't be able to grout until next weekend. That'll be the weekend of the nearing 25th or 24th or something like that of February. So the thin set basically says on the box that allow 48 hours or something, but we always err on the side of maybe more is better in that situation. Plus, honestly, because while it is a 3-day weekend, in order for us to really have been able to do the entire thing, we would have probably needed to lay the tile on Friday to be able to grout on Monday. But I also need a bit of time to recuperate before going back to work, because I'm 51 years old, crawling around on my hands and knees, especially when I'm not used to doing that, is something. I ride a desk all day, folks. I spend my times doing that. Most of probably the hardest that I exert myself in the office is if I have to lift a server or something like that. So anyway, enough about all of that. So it is coming up on about 25 minutes. Of course, we have had some breaks, so some of that's going to come off in the form of being left on the cutting room floor. Some of those gaps that I took to go and fix course play, and I need to yet do that one more time. So I tell you what, let me just pause here, because I do want to do maybe one more thing before I end this episode, and I'll be right back. All right, right back with you. Again, little just oddities with course play. It happens, and as I have said before, and I will say again, if course play is something that you want to, just come and get things set up and then walk away, leave the room, go to the grocery store, do whatever, and come back thinking that it's going to work, everything's going to be just like it is or just like you expect it, you're going to be mistaken, because it does often require you to kind of fix things, and for whatever reason the save pipe position is not working this morning for me. It worked the other day when we did this field. I had to adjust it one time, and then it managed to work just fine, but it's not working this morning. So it's just the little gremlins and stuff that we all have to put up with for the love of the game. One thing that I wanted to mention, and of course because I am recording episodes ahead of time, and because I'm only putting out 3 episodes a week right now at this particular point in time, once we wrap up Thornton Farm, it's possible that I might increase either MidtownUSA or Tazewell to more than 1 episode a week. In other words, do more than just 2 episodes a week, because that's going to be kind of slow going to finish out those maps and everything. But we'll just kind of have to see when we get to that particular point. But obviously there's been some news about Farm Sim 19. I think one of the last times that we were together with one of the videos, I had sort of made mention that there was some information about Giants confirmed that Farm Sim 19 would basically be available. And of course I think I said something about, well, I think history more or less proves that for us, that unless they've run into some problems, or unless they were planning to change their release schedules or whatever like that, I sort of assumed that there would be a Farm Sim 19. Well, and of course that was some information or some evidence that came out from a conference that Giants attended, and there was some photos that were taken at that conference of their booth and whatnot. So anyway, Giants in recent time have released their CGI trailer, and of course it's CGI, so it looks fantastic, but then also any other movie that uses CGI technology also looks amazing, and that's why, that's the beauty of CGI. So don't get too excited in thinking that that's how the game is going to look, because, well, we all know that is not how it works in the real world. And so in any event, they have confirmed a few things. A few of the things that we can look forward to are, of course, a sort of an advanced or an updated graphics engine. I don't know if they are basically just using their own graphics engine and tweaking that, or if they've moved to something different. I sort of suspect that they haven't moved to anything new or different from what the graphic engine is that's been behind FarmSim 15 and 17, because I don't think that they could have done that in the amount of time that they've had since FarmSim 17 and developing the developing all of the DLC and everything. But I don't really pretend to know exactly how all that works. And so let's see. Let me try moving this out of the way. So this is another one of those little oddities that you just have to kind of deal with. Stop. Anyway, I know you're slipping because you're basically being silly. You're basically being silly. Anyway, so we're going to have a sword fight with our pipes here. Okay, you go do what you want to do there. Anyway, so I doubt that it's been anything that's, more or less brand new as far as that goes with the whole, where's my mouse, with the whole graphics engine and whatnot. But they've put out a list of things. It's out there on their website if you're interested in learning about that. And maybe I'll try to remember to have the list out in front of me the next time I record an episode, which would probably be for Thornton Farm episode number 28, which I will probably do tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce back over to this guy here. So anyway, lots of cool things. I'm excited about FarmSim 19. Of course, depending on how much they've tweaked and changed the graphics engine and some of the other things, it could be that FarmSim 19 might not be as stable as what we've been accustomed to with FarmSim 17 and FarmSim 15. I mean, arguably a lot of folks say, and I will have to kind of agree, that there wasn't a whole lot of change between FarmSim 15 and 17. A lot of folks didn't think the changes warranted necessarily the cost, and a lot of people did not make the update to 17 for that reason, or maybe they're disappointed in it for those reasons. I think the enhancements between 15 and 17 were worth the purchase of 17. I'm more than certain that we're also going to see the same with 19. I think that we'll all be hopefully impressed with what we see with 19. I'm looking forward to it. I think that quite possibly, as far as if I've got to put things on top, or if I've got to maybe stack rank what I think I'm most excited about as far as the agricultural based games that are going to be out there in the near future, I'm thinking that Giants is going to continue to rule the day. As far as what's out there between cattle and crops, pure farming, which is going to be released in mid-March, and of course Farmer's Dynasty. I think Giants is going to just essentially, to sort of use a baseball analogy, I think they're going to knock it out of the park. But again, sitting here recording this episode in mid-February and still having a good probably 8 or 9 months to go before we see FarmSim 19 in our hands or have it on our computers, I would say that we all need to, potentially anticipate that there could be some things that may not be 100% perfect, just simply because if they are really stepping outside of the envelope, if you will, from what we've seen with 15 and 17, and obviously with Rankin joining Giants from the Seasons mod fame, there may be some, he's really pro realism and immersion and all that kind of stuff. So if we start to see better ground textures, better vehicle performance, more realism, more realistic kind of stuff like we have to rely on with mods for that. If we start to see some of that stuff get incorporated into FarmSim 19 that obviously wasn't present in 17 or 15, there could be some time there that we have to we have to put up with some growing pains while Giants fixes it or whatever. It's not a perfect world. You'd think that, well, if Giants is going to do this, that what they release to us in the fall of this year, in the October-November timeframe, will be picture perfect. We know that that's not the case. That's not how this works. It doesn't even work this way in the corporate software industry as well. Anytime that we produce new advanced pieces of software, there are often periods of time where patches and updates and everything have to be released. It's all a race of time and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm going to basically probably hire the robots to finish cultivating this field. When we come back for episode number 20 for MidTown USA, we are going to seed soybeans into that same field that we cultivated earlier. So that way we can just kind of continue to tell the story. That's kind of what I'm about right now with doing sort of everything on that first field, that first wheat field that we harvested. That way we all see the progress getting made, getting the soybeans into the ground and everything. And then I'll probably start abbreviating things that we do the rest of the next few episodes, with doing a lot of stuff off camera, trying to get some of the canola in as time and weather permits, and get these other fields and everything turned around. So the main goal, and I think it's very much doable, because we'll basically be seeding in this exact same game day, so we'll be doing that on the smaller field. We'll at least have one field of soybeans, but I really think that we will end up with two. And I'm stubborn, I'm bullheaded. We'll have 3 fields of soybeans come heck or high water. So anyway, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. I appreciate. I'm not really sure how long this episode is going to end up being, because quite a bit of footage is going to be left on the cutting room floor from my pausing to have to go over and sort out courseplay. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you continue to enjoy the content that I put out on the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. That field over there looks beautiful. So we'll get to that in the next episode, episode number 20, and I will see you all right back here, either on MidTown USA, over on Thornton Farm as we continue to wind down things over there, or on Tazewell County. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Please, if you're not a subscriber of my channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I appreciate that. And then I will return again very soon. Take care of yourselves and also of each other. God bless you all. Bye-bye.